Meeting is exactly right. They're talking about the shooting that happened just a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, here in front of Mary's Bar and Grill. You can still see right over there the memorial that was left for the people who lost their lives in that devastating attack. And today the owners of Mary's Bar and Grill discussed their beer license at the beer board, and they talked about how they were calling CPD about the large crowd that was gathered right out front here, and officers didn't respond until shots were fired.
Quiet.
Sparks fly at the Chattanooga Beer Board during a debate over the beer license for Mary's Bar and Grill.
You're here to defend one of the most egregious tragedies that has ever happened in Chattanooga.
I am guilty. We are guilt-free.
It all stems from this night, where a crowd of about 200 people blocked the streets outside of Mary's. In this viewer video, you can see men passing an AR pistol. After 3 lives were lost, CPD Chief Celeste Murphy told the community to alert them if they see crowds like this one that was on McCallie.
If you live near, or if you observe, even if you're driving by establishments, just call 911 and say, hey, there's crowds.
But on the night of the shooting, the owners say they did call police, but the officers never came until after shots rang out.
What we saw was a traffic problem. It was a car burning out in the middle of the road. Security guards.
Had you called the police at that point?
It wasn't on our.
Have you called the police at that point?
Yes, we did.
Mary's co-owner Demetrius Wilson says they called the non-emergency contact line twice that night.
And I was afraid that anything was going to happen out here, and I didn't want nothing to happen. Can y'all get somebody out here to control this traffic?
Let's take a look at that timeline. Wilson says she called the non-emergency line at 1:35 and 1:45 a.m. At 2:11, dispatchers put out this call to officers.
Shuffle to McCallie, be on the lookout for cars drag racing. It's been going on for about 30 minutes.
That was 25 minutes before police say they got the call that shots were fired, where we later learned that 3 people died.
They showed up about an hour later, and that's an hour later after, and then that's when the shooting occurred.
Officials say Gary King is charged with being a felon in possession of a firearm. According to the affidavit that we obtained, officials do not accuse King of shooting anyone. It accuses him of having a rifle as a convicted felon. News Channel 9's Sabrina Majore is following these new developments. Sabrina, we also know that King is a gang member as well.
Josh and Kim, that's right. King is a known member of the Rolling 60s Crips street gang, and while this affidavit doesn't accuse him of firing any shots, it does say he's one of 3 gang members captured on surveillance video and part of this investigation.
A convicted felon and known gang member arrested in connection with this deadly shooting in downtown Chattanooga. A federal affidavit puts this man, Gary King, at the scene of the shooting, saying he arrived in a stolen car with 2 other gang members. One of the men King was with captured in this viewer video holding a rifle just before shots rang out on McCallie Avenue.
Oh God, they out here showing.
Federal court documents show King admitted to investigators that he was on McCallie Avenue the night of the shooting. He told the FBI that after the shots rang out, he picked up the rifle from the other gang member, got into the passenger seat of an SUV, and fled the scene. This viewer video captured before the shooting shows people questioning why this man is carrying a gun right in the middle of this large late-night crowd. It then shows a rush of people running away in a commotion.
Take off running, baby. I'm ready to go.
The affidavit goes on to say King admitted he bought the rifle on May 28th, just days before the shooting. It doesn't say from where or whom, but it does say he paid $800 for this firearm. Police say they now have the gun as they work to piece together this deadly puzzle.
Now, King was still on supervised release prior to the McCallie shooting. That was for a firearm charge. The ATF says they are looking to question the other 2 men captured in that surveillance video. They say they do know the identity of at least one of the men, but they've redacted his name in the affidavit paperwork we have right here. Reporting in Chattanooga, I'm Sabrina Majore, News Channel 9.
Sabrina, thank you. King will appear in federal court next Thursday. You can't depend on us to bring you the latest when that happens. King made headlines back in December 2016. That's when police say he and 3 other people set off fireworks inside Hamilton Place Mall. Investigators say it was a way to steal merchandise from a store. King was charged with theft of property, reckless endangerment, and disorderly conduct. The fireworks were set off inside the Pink store at the Hamilton Place Mall. We are working to learn how that case was resolved.
A second suspect has been arrested in connection to the Walnut Street shooting that happened on May 28th and injured 6 teenagers. The first suspect, a 15-year-old, was arrested last week. Both suspects face 6 counts of attempted murder along with other charges. Since both suspects are juveniles, their names have not been released. The Hamilton County District Attorney's Office filed a notice of intent to transfer the teen from juvenile to criminal court, so the suspect could be tried as an adult.
Chattanooga Police Chief Celeste Murphy has released a video on social media reacting to news of those arrests. She talked about CPD's new focused deterrence initiative for the summer.
It focuses on having more personnel in the real-time intelligence center and quick response units for large crowds, which won't take away from our 911 calls for service response. Thank you for coming out. We just wanted to provide some updates on the incident from earlier this morning. I first want to make sure that I recognize all of the local agencies, as well as we had the ATF come out and help us out and assist and support us in this incident. As you can are well aware that, you know, this is a tragic incident that involved multiple people. And so we appreciate the support that we get from our local and federal partners. So I want to make sure that I get that said initially. But this morning at 2:42 in the morning, CPD units responded to the 2100 block of McCallie at a nearby nightclub on a report of a shooting. And once on the scene, they encountered multiple victims and began rendering aid, as well as working to secure the scene. At this time, we can confirm 14 gunshot victims and 3 victims that were struck by vehicles that were attempting to flee the scene. 3 fatalities have been confirmed, 2 of which are related to gunshot wounds and 1 of which is related to injuries sustained after being struck by a vehicle. Several victims remain in critical condition. The victims are both male and female. 16 of them are adults and 1 is a juvenile. Right now, as you can already assume that this is a very complex situation. We're trying to determine exactly what happened and what led up to this taking place. And at this time, we do believe that it is an isolated incident specific to this occurrence last night. We do not believe that there's any ongoing public safety threat at all related outside of this incident to this occurrence this morning. We ask that anyone with information related to the incident, regardless of how small and insignificant you may think that it is, to please reach out to us. The homicide investigators can be reached at 423-643-5100. And you can also use our Atlas One app and submit a tip. Of course, all of this can be anonymous. This is once again a situation in which we find that we need help from the community to help us out with this. We cannot do this by ourselves, and we're asking you for help. This is clearly a tragic event for the families involved and the victims, so at this time I definitely want to make sure that we extend our condolences and our thoughts to the families and the victims that are experiencing this today. And once again, I want to thank all of our local and federal partners that are assisting us, and this is an ongoing investigation, so there's not a lot of details other than that I can give at this time, because I want to make sure that we follow through this investigation thoroughly and that we give it its due diligence. So at this time, I'll take any questions if you have any.
Is there an idea on perhaps maybe the number of shooters at this time?
So right now we're looking at there's going to be multiple shooters. We cannot confirm how many, but there's definitely more than one shooter. So I don't want to confirm the exact amount, but there looks like there will be multiple shooters. Don't have the exact amount yet because we're still combing through evidence, looking at video and evidence that was left on the scene.
Are any other shooters in custody or?
No.
Any idea on the types of weapons that were used?
Right now, that's still, in the infancy stages of the investigation. We're looking through that as well. It's still early on, so I want them to just take their time and make sure that they, carry on with the detail that they need to do for something as significant as this.
Will the investigation that's going on right now over at McCallie Street, will that pull away security from Riverbend today?
No, ma'am. We relieved all of the people that had to stay over a little bit this morning for that event. We should have them out, and if there are any less, it's going to be so insignificant. We really had a good success with the event so far, so I believe that we will continue to have success with Riverbend today. I don't see that as at all a safety measure at this point, and I'm not concerned about deviating from the security plan that we've had thus far.
The big shooting last weekend, or last night, or this morning shooting, how do we make sure to prevent this going forward?
Well, you know, I have a problem with, you know, what I ask for the public's help as well. If you live near, or if you observe, even if you're driving by establishments, just call 911 and say, hey, there's crowds. We want to make sure we monitor the street stunts with vehicles, those type of things. So all of these things hit social media, and we do monitor that as much as we can. But, you know, just anonymous tips from the public letting us know, you know, there's something going on, and, you know, because these things escalate so quickly and swiftly as we see. And these are the things that would help us if we can get those tips as well prior to, so that we can mitigate this situation in the future.
Is it too early to discuss on if there's gang connection with it?
We don't know. We're looking through that as a lead as well. So we can't determine that yet because we're still in the beginning part of the investigation.
Can you estimate how long that area is going to be blocked off? If we should let people know, hey, this is going to be blocked off all day, avoid that driving through that area?
I wouldn't say all day, but I would at least make sure that we, you know, I would safely say probably a couple of hours. Yeah, good portion of the day.
You mentioned that there were some people who were hit by vehicles as well. Is there any idea if those are the shooters' vehicles, or these people trying to get away at the time?
Probably, I don't know at this point. You know, it probably could be a combination of both. Really don't know at this point in time because there's just so much to unpack with this investigation, and we want to really just make sure before we put out too much information, you know, that it's the actual facts of what happened before we actually say that.
Do you have